All right, everybody, it's the Jere Metcalf Podcast, where top agents tell how they do it. And today we have the infamous Jason O'Neill with Century 21. You guys have probably heard me quote him almost every podcast. And we're going to start with that today. Well, actually, we're going to start with a little about you, but I'm going to start with your quote. And then we're going to let Jason introduce himself further. But everybody, one of the biggest messages I've gotten from Jason, besides his incredible success at Sotheby's International Realty and in his career before he became a president with Century 21 Sheetz, was any wise person will tell you, do not get involved in anyone's money, family, or their home. And real estate agents, residential real estate agents, get involved in all three, and then we wonder why. We wonder why this job is so intense. But Jason, that's my famous quote, among others from you, but I've really been able to, that really just helps everybody put things in perspective, whether they're agents or clients in a deal, and I've been able to use that so many times, and I appreciate it. But Jason, tell us a little more to remind everybody kind of about yourself, where you are, your market, all that good stuff.
Yeah, well, it's awesome to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for having me on again. I know I can't wait to catch up. There's been so much stuff that's happened for me personally, professionally, and you too. I know you've had some big changes.
Yeah.
So I've been, to recap, a year ago, I switched over from selling in our marketplace to running Century 21 Sheetz in Indianapolis. And it's been amazing. We've got 9 offices, just about 350 agents, 56 employees, and it's an awesome job. So I oversee marketing, operations, finance, accounting, relocation, and sales.
That's awesome. Well, and what I love about that for perspective is we've got somebody who's been in sales, been very successful in sales, and now you're running several offices. Yeah. And watching agents on every level, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, and you're getting I really did this when I decided to make the move to Compass. I'd never before put myself in a role. I was just an agent selling houses, focused on that, kind of also taking a look at the residential market, real estate, what it's doing, because what residential real estate, and what our industry in general is doing affects all of us as agents directly. I think you've got a lot of perspective on that. I'm going to start with the question of, when you made the shift from being an agent to being in the role, I mean, you went like straight from agent to running, how many offices? Is it 7?
9.
9 offices. So that's a big shift. You went from like, Gary V's like clouds and dirt. I mean, you were like in the dirt, and then you were in like outer space. What was that shift like? And were there any ahas you had from that about the business at large or our business for us real estate agents?
Yeah, so there were a lot of ahas. But I think that if you think about massive growth inside of your business, and this is something that I don't think people really believe until they internalize, and I'll try to explain it as best I can. But if you think about growing your team by 20% this year, or your income by 20%, you want to increase your sales. Pretty much, we all know how to do that, right? And every business coach can help you with that. It's just a matter of making more phone calls, maybe hiring an additional buyer's agent, and working a little harder. So there's the formula to do it. But what if I said you needed to grow your business by 10 times? Right. Now you're thinking about it in a totally different perspective. And I challenge everybody to say that if you're gonna change, if you're gonna grow, it change is hard no matter what. You might as well make the change that's going to be meaningful, like a 10 times change. So for me, I'm passionate about improving the consumer experience and making agent lives better. So I couldn't do that. I couldn't do either of those things just in my own business. So I had to really look at it from the standpoint of massive growth. And once you understand that change is change, you might as well go big. So it's been awesome, and I challenge everybody to think about that in terms of their business as well. Because once you start to think about in your own business, once you start to think about 10 times change versus just 20% growth, 10 times growth, and that 10 times can be in your free time, in your income, in your vacation, as well as your sides and AGC. but all of a sudden you're holding every single person accountable, and you're holding every dollar accountable to that massive growth, which is just a mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's a total mindset. But that is, so how did it happen? That was a component of it. But then, there was also, do you want to get out of day-to-day sales? Did I want to get out of selling on a day-to-day basis? And I really thought long and hard about it, and I was stuck for a while because, I consult with a couple of people that I trust, and invariably people will say, well, you can always go back.
Yeah,
you can always go back.
That would be tough.
And that just, it didn't resonate with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I started to think about it in terms of the advice that I might give myself. And you've got to remember that if for some reason something doesn't work out, you're not the same person, right? You don't have the same capabilities or the same relationships. And I think you just have to have faith that, that there will be another door there, that you've got skills that are applicable. Thankfully, I hadn't had to think about that. It's been an awesome transition. But yeah, it's just, I think it's the best industry in the world.
I love that, because you made a comment about, people said, well, you could always go back. Well, if you're a high producing agent and you're a go-getter, you're not into going back. Like going back, just there's nothing that you could always go back, probably led you to, well, then I'm not going to do it because I'm not going to do anything to go back. But then you took it to the next step and you said, but if I did it, which was a little bit of my decision to change companies and go to Compass, was that, I could always go back, I think, but it's hard to go. Nobody wants to do something and have to go back, unless that really is the right thing to do. But you don't want to run into that. But going into it, even if you fail, even if there are a million problems, you just, like what you just said, it's opportunity. You just stepped into, you're going to be a new person with new value. It's about the value, the things that you learn, the person you become, and the value you create from it. And then you said this earlier, but I think this also may have brought it in it for you, was that you've got a set of gifts that you kind of learned a lot. We can always learn more, but you learned so much as being an agent, and there was so much more you had to offer, that being in this new position gave you the opportunity to do that, which kind of made going back not even like it took that out of the equation, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely, because you develop new capabilities, new competences, and for me to be able to touch 7,000 transactions in a year, and the way that real estate works and flows is so much more meaningful. And the ability to coach our agents, our top agents, as well as people that are just coming in the door, it's cool. It's very rewarding. So I'm still involved in a lot of real estate deals from the standpoint that I consult, I advise, and the deals that I'm personally involved in are just much bigger ones, as we're going after some developers and we're trying to put together, real big chunks of business for our agents.
That's awesome. So I love it because you're like, this is again going kind of like as an agent, dirt, clouds, as running companies, and this is relevant to all of us agents because it helps us get a picture of the industry and what it means and what different companies are doing. But you did how many transactions? I mean, you had massive production. How many transactions did you do a year before you?
Yeah, so last year I did $40 million in sales, and that was on, I think it was about 45 to 50 transactions. So it was a high average sales price.
So that's a top eight. Obviously, you are a top agent, but that's like, you're busy. So you went from 40 million, 45 transactions. So those transactions were close to $1 million each, but everything was like pretty much hands-on. I mean, even when you leveraged your showings and whatever, you're very hands-on. So now you're looking at 7,000 transactions a year. Of course, you've got agents servicing those. But how does your day-to-day adjust? And what is your time? How do you decide? And what do you focus your time on? And how do you prioritize? Of course, there's kind of a job description as the president. But I still want to get just kind of a mind shift for all of us, too, as two things. what do you focus on in your role now? And now that you're in that role and you've got that kind of experience, if you did go back and become an agent again, what would you do and what would you do differently? So question number one is just tell us how you focus your efforts on 7,000 deals. Yeah. And a big company.
I focus on people, my leadership team, and the things that they're doing, as well as our agents that are, need help. So the agents, managers, leadership team, it's all people, and making sure that their goals are aligned with company goals, and that we're moving forward. We use a system called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's fantastic. We teach it to agents too, but that's the people component of it is huge, and it can't be underestimated.
Now, what is EOS?
So it's called the Entrepreneurial Operating System. There's a book by Gina Wickman called Traction that details it, but it's really just it's a system for running your business, and
wow.
we, like I said, we teach it to our agents, and a lot of it starts with having the vision of where you want to be, this year, 3 years down the road, and then way down the road, and it walks you through setting that up, but then also setting what they call rocks, which are just goals on an annual basis and then a quarterly basis. So everybody in our company has a rock, multiple rocks that they work to every year and every quarter, and those rocks go to achieve the company goals. So it's a good system. I mean, it's a system. So that's better than nothing.
Awesome.
Better than being reactive.
Yeah.
And then how do I prioritize? Yeah. I try to simplify it to 3 things I need to get done in a given week, and then 3 things I need to get done in a given day. So that's how I do my to-do sheet.
Smart. I like it. It's kind of like Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Work Week. I think he was like one thing a day. But it's the same thing, like narrowing in, honing in, get the big stuff done first. The little things will take care of themselves. And I love what you said about focusing on people. So if you went back today after this experience, because you've been the president with Century 21 Sheetz for, has it been a year?
A year.
A year.
Just about a year.
And everybody, if you go back and listen to Jason O'Neill, do we have the number? What interview that was, Isaac?
Let me look it up.
We're going to look that up. But if you go back and listen to Jason's awesome interview, that first interview that we did, you had been president for like a day.
Like a day. And I pulled that up in advance of this. You get a lot of views.
Oh, good. Awesome.
Nearly 3,000 views on that.
Yeah. I don't count. I should count maybe, but I'm just too busy like producing and selling. Or Seth Godin says it best. He's like, you know what? I don't count my numbers because it doesn't matter what they are. I'm still going to do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to create good content. And if it's good, people will come. So, and when we're busy selling and doing this and just learning and moving forward. But if y'all go listen to that interview, that interview was number 52, and that was when you had been with us for a day. So that being said, a year ago, you've gotten a lot of new perspective in the last year. And also you were changing companies. So you've been with one company that does things one way. You're both owned by the same parent company. Is it Realogy or NRT? Or
Yeah. Realogy.
Realogy's the owner, but you were with Sotheby's, and now you're with Century. Sotheby's as an agent, Century 21 as the president. So tell us your ahas, but the biggest question I want to start with is back to, if you went back and did it again, how would you do it? And are there any specific things you would say you would do differently, or advice you have to us?
Yeah, I would, and some of it's opened my eyes as to why I became so successful. So I'll get to that. But if I could go back and do it again, I would have very good systems, and I would hire an strategic assistant to manage and perfect those systems in advance, or much earlier than I ever did in my career. Because I think what we do as agents often is that we have this idea that we need systems, so we hire somebody to create systems that aren't in our lifespan. Right. So I think what makes sense is to get at least a framework, and then hire like a process manager to manage those systems, because it's all about leverage and systems and being really intentional about what you want. I think the biggest mistake that I see agents make, and this is something that everybody makes in their life, and I've been pretty good at it, but could always be better, is, I think you've heard me say before that so many of us, people have 10, 15, 20, 25 years worth of experience in real estate industry.
Mm-hmm.
What they really have is 1 year's worth of experience that they've repeated 10, 15, or 20 times. So by that, it's always about growing. It's always about improving. So, for example, one of the things,
and there are different agents,
that
that do that differently. There are some who choose to grow, and some who choose to. I think all agents, most people who stay. I mean, agents are probably my favorite people in the world. But keep going. I kind of interrupted you.
Well, let me give you an example of what I mean by this. So I developed a tool inside of our company called the Listing Consultation Transformer, and it's a document that I could email to you. But
now the listing present. What did you call it again? The listing.
Yeah, the listing presentation transformer. So,
and did you create this while you were an agent or after?
No, but it's stuff that I'd always done, but I never had a system around it.
Okay.
So, and this is what happens. So when you're in a role like I am now, you can't just say, "Hey, we should do this."
Right.
Right. You have to actually develop a system and collateral and name it. So what this is Jerry, it's a half sheet of paper, and it says, the people's names, what worked, what didn't, what would you do differently next time? So everybody does this in all aspects of their life, but I don't know if they take the time to write it down. And I tell our agents, write it down, and then you can throw it out, you can light it on fire, you can do whatever you want with it. But the process of writing, something going from your brain to your hand, to the pencil, to the paper, something magically happens. So think about how good of a listing agent you would be, or anybody would be, if they got a little bit better each time.
Exactly.
So what happens is you're getting better on your best.
Yeah.
And that's exponential growth.
Yeah.
Versus to say, well, I win 90% of my listings. But if you said, shoot, I wish I would have asked this question. I wish I would have used this script or this dialogue. And then now, next time you do that, but you figure out something else. Mm-hmm. So the crazy thing about an exercise like that and a tool like that is, if you're an average listing agent, it's going to make you a little bit better. Mm-hmm. If you're a killer listing agent, it's going to make you so much better because you're already improving on your best. Exactly. I think about, I saw something on Tom Brady recently. And
Tom Brady. Yeah.
And you would think he's somebody that's just arrived, right? He is the best quarterback that there is. He's played longer than I think any quarterback in history. He's won more Super Bowls.
Persistence.
And yet I watched this video of him, and he's being coached. And then the coach is saying, look, your arm's getting loose. You need to tuck your elbow and follow through. And he's like this, and he's getting better on his best. So if the best in the world needs to get better, it's awesome.
Get better on your best. Just keep growing and keep improving. I love that, the listing presentation transform, and it's everything in business. It makes me think about, for me, it's when some of the most successful agents have an issue on how do I continue communication with sellers, because sometimes things get slow, sometimes there's nothing to say. So what do you do? And I actually came up and I implemented this system, because I think about, you talked about implementing systems, and I don't know, this is probably the excuse, but as agents, we're so reactive. Like, there's always a client who wants us. There's always another deal we could go get. There's always something we could be doing to get more deals. That it actually takes discipline to back off, or it does for me, to back off and go, okay, here are my systems. This is how we're going to actually do things. And I'm going to slow down and hire this person and train this person to do this so we can do these things for the clients. Because there's the salesperson in most real estate agents, especially success ones, that just are going out for the next deal. And what that brings me back to, though, is that there's that part of our business, but also something that I've done in my business is this reminds me of, is not on the listing presentation, but on the listing process, is the biggest challenge is keeping up that communication, especially the higher the price point gets. The more necessary the communication becomes, but the more difficult it can be for a lot of agents. And I say that being in masterminds and rooms of agents talking about, and on this podcast interview. But anyway, is that, what do you say? So I came up with an email. Well, if I were a seller, what do I want to know? I want to know what the market's doing. I want to know what the traffic's doing. I want to know what marketing's going on. And if there are any problems, I want to know what you're doing about it. So we have an email that goes out every week that updates our clients on that. But it's back to those processes and stopping yourself, back to what you said, and thinking about, okay, what am I doing that's working and not working? Because it can be so easy to go in and like lasso in the next deal and lasso in the next deal. But if you're ever going to grow to a bigger level, you've got to think bigger and do bigger and leverage people to do that. I mean, does that kind of sum up a little bit of what you're talking about?
Yeah, Jere, and I want to expound on this because I want to see if we can take it one step further. So this system you have sounds terrific. Have you named it?
Of course not. It's the Carlton and Jere system, because Carlton's my listing manager, and Carlton and I talk every day almost, but we have a set 2-hour meeting every week to engage and make sure we followed up and done everything. But yeah.
So check this out. So if you want to
just names.
improve
like
on it, so that's the stuff that I consider. That's the stuff that I consider backstage.
Okay.
And the backstage is all the stuff that Carlton does, so that you can go out there and be on the front stage, selling, communicating with people, doing the things that give you energy.
Interviewing with you.
That the backstage is Carlton entry.
Yeah.
Right. So
like everybody really right now, live time, Carlton is putting together all of the information we just discussed into emails to clients so we can have this awesome conversation. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, that's, and so I think that conversation gets incorporated into your listing presentation with sellers. I'm going to tell you about Carlton. Carlton's doing this stuff on the backstage so that I can be here with you, not looking at my phone, not texting people, because homes are selling and we're probably getting offers right now, but there's nothing more important than this meeting that I have with you. And that's why I pay somebody a lot of money, like Carlton. But take your backstage systems, just take that one, the communication system, name it, and have one of your graphic designers.
Let's name it today.
Do it.
What do we name it?
Sure.
What do we name it? You're good at it. This is a great example for everybody. What do we name it?
The Jere Metcalf team client communication system.
I like it.
Or plan.
Listing update.
Client communication plan.
Client communication plan. Something, because everybody's biggest complaint about a realtor is they don't communicate.
So imagine if you had this conversation with the seller and you said, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, the biggest complaint that people have with their agent, and I look at the NAR statistics and it shows, is that their agents don't communicate. They feel like they're in the dark. Mm-hmm. So what I've done is I've taken time and developed a system. It's called the Jere Metcalf Client Communication System. Let me walk you through it here. And it's 4 or 5 things that name it, and you're marketing it, and now you're talking to it. And the reality of it is that a lot of your competitors probably do something somewhat similar.
Actually, they don't.
Once you name it, once you name it and market it, it's fantastic. Like the example.
It's almost like patenting it. Like nobody else does it because it's the Jere Metcalf communication system.
Right. And so I don't know where I got this one, but so have you ever had a seller say to you, "Well, we're just going to get a low offer in. If I price it where you want me to, Jere, we're just going to get a low offer, and then my back's going to be against the wall. I'm not going to have any room to move."
Right.
And you say, "Yeah, that might happen, but then we would just implement the Lowe's strategy." And they say, "The what? The low offer execution strategy?" I'm sure you've said you interviewed other agents. I'm sure they've talked to you about the low offer execution strategy. And immediately the sellers are like, "No, go on." Well, what's going to happen is we'll probably get a low offer. And I mean, that happens from time to time.
Right.
And when we do, a couple things are going to happen. One, I'm going to go to every single agent that's looked at the property with their clients and tell them, "Hey, we got an offer in. We're probably not going to accept it, but we will counter it and try to keep it alive. So if your clients are still interested or have any interest, now would be the time to get another offer." Second, we're going to work the buyers to get them up as high as they possibly can so that you can make an educated decision based on where their final number is, not where they started. And third, it's going to give you and I an opportunity to work together and work through the negotiating process so that we can have the real conversations about timing, about pricing, to know where you're going to be. And at the end, only one of 2 things are going to happen. We'll be in the exact same place we were, or the house will be sold at terms you can live with. And that's the low offer execution strategy. And so just by naming it and talking about it, it brings credibility to you and your system. So I would name that the backstage client communications follow-up and market it.
That's all. Well, and also all you just did was take what a client or a prospect sees as a potential problem and explain how that's an opportunity. And every time you are explaining something, you're explaining it in steps so people can see it, visualize it, experience it, and then you're setting expectations on how it's going to go when they hire you. And they're also visualizing, okay, this is what it's going to be like when I'm working with Jason.
Sure.
So nobody can work with Jason because he's the president of Century 21 Sheetz now. So you made a comment earlier, and I'm going to bring us back to it. You said, being in the role you're in now, you also can see because a lot of people get into this business, and about 95% of them, I think how many are out in the first 2 years? Is it 95%? You may know these stats. It's about 95, I think.
It's up there. I know our board has 8,000 people, and we turn over 50% every 2.5 years.
Wow.
So
that being said, oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. So that means, and you're going to edit that out, Isaac. What was I going to ask you? It was about
people leaving. The real estate, 95% of the people.
Oh, yeah. It was about your success. Okay, so now you can unedit pretty soon here. Anyway, so that leads me, though, with so many agents getting out of the business all the time, then there are those few who are successful, like yourself, at 40 million and 45 deals a year. What do you see now, and what do you recognize now from the perspective you've gotten in the last year as to why you were so successful?
I think that it boils down to, first of all, not quitting. Think about when you started in the business and people that you thought were legends, right? Just giants of residential real estate.
Yeah.
And think about the ones that are still in business.
Yeah.
And the ones that are just gone.
Yeah.
Right. So I say that, and I guess I moved on. But staying with it that's the hard part. And there are all sorts of life and financial issues that get in people's way. But the other one, what I've noticed between the top producing agents and kind of the rest of the crowd is self-limiting beliefs. The belief that you can and you have the skills to list $1 million, $2 million, $4 million house, that you can just go out there and knock it out of the park. That you are good enough. That we don't always see ourselves the way that the world sees us.
I love that. Self-limiting beliefs. Do you have any insight also? Because I've got examples. I mean, you can watch people, how they conduct themselves in everyday activities, and what you see limit people, and you can almost tell what they may or may not do, or how much how successful they are or not. This is random, but things like going into a restaurant or a parking situation, but any problem you're presented in life, and it goes to a quote I heard recently was, wealth or success it's not even about the dollars just happen. It's about people's resources and how they know how to use and leverage them. I mean, you can see people with some of the grandest, or what appear to be the greatest resources, but they don't know what to do with them. And there have been other people in this world who seem to have no resources at all, but found opportunities in what appeared to be nothing, or in what appeared to be limitations, and made them opportunities. But do you have any examples for us watching agents, or any stories you can tell us about yourself and how you've made your resources as an agent, being in the role you're in now, even?
Well, I mean, I think of what you were saying, and I do think about that very thing a lot, and think about the people that that are the most successful in your life, or by perception they're successful, whether it's money or freedom or time. And think about if everything was stripped away from them, all the accoutrements, would they still be successful again? Mm-hmm. I mean, the answer is, for probably at least 80% of them, it's yes. I mean, mm-hmm. the Bill Gateses of the world would have been successful in anything that they chose to undertake, right? So that's the making your luck, making your opportunities. But really, I think that the laws of referability are pretty basic. Show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, say please and thank you, and if you fall short, explain why and explain what you're going to do about it.
Okay, so we have to say that again. The law. So this is another one you came up with.
The 4 laws of referability.
Referability. Show up on time.
Show up on time.
Do what you say you're going to do.
Say please and thank you. Do what you say you're going to do, and if you fall short, explain why and explain what you're going to do about it. And we could probably write chapters of a book on each one of those. But showing up on time.
Well,
and just showing up.
Just show up. So you said if you fall short, explain why and what you're going to do about it. So many people get caught up in why and the excuses. They don't really matter. What matters is, and even, for example, it's if you fall short, explain why, but more importantly, tell them what you're going to do about it and do it. And in every problem, I say this almost as much as I quote you on my podcast, but in every problem, there is an opportunity because problems are opportunities, and presenting those opportunities and those problems to your clients as well. You don't want to be a salesperson, or you don't want to we're all salespeople, but you don't want to oversell it. But there are always opportunities in every problem. That's usually where opportunities come from. So, but laws of referability, I love that. Is there anything that you would do differently if you went back and did it again?
They would probably be more minimal things. I would do a better job following with my clients. I would, one of the things that I really embraced in my last year was I had my client list, but then I also maintained a top 20 list. And those were the folks that referred me the most business, or I wanted to refer me the most business, and I treated them a little differently. So if I sent all of my clients an article, say, I would send them the book or hard copy of the magazine. And that was, just treating them a little bit differently. And I'd see those numbers come through and at the end of the year when I tracked it, that there were higher dollar referrals and a much significant, much more significant commission income from that group of people. In terms of what else would I do differently, one of the things that I focus on now, and I coach my team on it all the time, is to focus on the who, not the how. So I think so often we get stuck in how are we going to do that? How are we going to make the time versus who can do that for us? Who's an expert at that? Who can I collaborate with or partner with?
Yeah.
So, we're talking about, perfect example, your client communication system. I would say, hey, Carlton, name it, bullet point it, hire a graphic designer, and can you get me a proof on it?
Yeah.
Versus, you're probably like me from the standpoint of, you'll sit in front of your computer like 3 hours because it's exciting.
Yes.
And then you get like halfway done.
Yes. At least hand it to them and let them get it all the way done. Yeah. I tell everybody in my team, guys, I get things started. You're here to finish it. You guys are here to make sure it all gets finished. That's what you're here for. Exactly.
Yeah. So it's focusing on the who, not the how, and it frees up your mind for more of that exponential growth. It totally it changes your perspective, because the how is what drains our energy. How am I going to get all this done, or who can do it, or how am I going to sell 20 more homes this year? Right? We could sit there and lament over that.
Yeah.
Or how exciting would a conversation be about who can help us sell 20 more homes? Now we're developing a list of financial advisors, accountants, referral partners.
Exactly. Or more agents on your team.
There you go.
Speaking of teams, we're gonna talk about teams, and then we'll start wrapping it up with my final 3 questions, unless there's anything else you want to talk about.
Nope.
teams, how do you, this is probably the biggest, I have so many people even call me out of the blue. They're like, Jere, you've done so many podcasts, you've got a team. I'm trying to build a team. I'm trying to do it right. What is your recommendation? I'm like, well, that's my biggest I think that's everybody's biggest question. But what is your, what are the most successful teams you've seen? What's the common denominator? And is there any platform or setup that works better than others?
So I don't know. I have some advice on it, and there are a lot of different versions of teams. Everyone from,
Yes.
we're going to bring in some additional buyer's agents. We're effectively running a mini brokerage inside of a brokerage, all the way to teams that are set up like functional teams that, everyone has their job.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice would be to go more toward something like that there is an accountability chart, and by accountability chart, an org chart or whatever, but each person, even if it's two people, has specific functions that they do. Mm-hmm. And, you and Carlton, front stage, backstage, right? Mm-hmm. I'm out in front of clients, you make sure the clients are taken care of, and you build on it from there. And once you do that, I think it gives you clarity about where you want to go and who's in whose lane. And I think it also, there's if everyone's operating in the parts of the business that give them energy, like systems drain your energy, right?
Yes.
Right? Being with people gives you energy. And I would imagine Carlton's kind of the opposite of that. Like he gets energy out of making sure that things work.
Carlton's a girl.
Sorry.
Carlton's very social, but Carlton is like, doesn't like to go in the field. She does her thing like in her office. That's what she does. That's it. She's like, people are like, is she real? Is she a person? She doesn't show. She's like at the computer, getting stuff in. She's hilarious. But yeah, you're right. You're right. She gets it done. She's accountable. If I'm not there for our weekly meeting, she will stalk me down until she finds me because she knows how I am. So because we get her job is to make sure we get it done so I can get back in the field and keep selling. But yeah, you're right.
Well, yeah. So, and getting clear about who's doing what role and having some accountability, but also think about your team in the bigger sense. So you've got photographers, you've got stagers, you've got your brokerage. What tools can Carlton leverage inside of the brokerage that free her up to do much more exciting growth-oriented stuff, right? So I think of a single agent that's just getting started. I mean, in effect, they do have a team. They've got to recognize it, right? Mm-hmm. This is the who, not the how.
Right.
And you can get bogged down again in the how. But so what resources do you have? Who's your external team? They don't have to be full-time staff. Like I said, you've got your photographers, you've got your stagers, mm-hmm. you've got your title rep, you've got your lenders. They're all part of your
closing
team.
Coordinators.
So yeah, exactly. And getting clear on how you want it to look and be very intentional. And I think that probably the best practice is that the first hire should be an admin type, as opposed to a buyer's agent. Because, and I get why people like to do it. The buyer's agent is supposed to, grow the top line, which effectively will grow the bottom line. But if you change your thinking a little bit to say, this administrative person can free up my time so I can go do more of the stuff that excites me.
And have better systems in place for the buyer's agent when you bring them in. Right.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And you're growing out of necessity, because the reality of it is that for a lot of agents, probably most agents, they don't have the leads and the sales need coming in before they have that administrative assistant in those systems. Mm-hmm. Once you get rid of some of the back office stuff, that backstage stuff, it can free you up to generate massive amounts of business that then you can't handle. But if you're still doing contracts and paperwork and contract closing stuff and inspections, then you offload that, your time automatically frees up. Exactly. And I would also encourage people to look at it as an investment, not an expense, in that first hire, because it's a big one.
It's a huge one. It's huge. I mean, you make so much more money when you have somebody. It's amazing what it does for your business, especially when you get. Now, Joshua Smith would say, it's not about the right person, it's about the right systems. I think it's a little bit of both. You've got to have the right person on the right seat in the bus. Good to great. But I do think it's a little bit of both, because but whatever it is, if you've got that assistant in place and they're doing a good job, it's amazing. But what were you going to say?
Well, and yeah, it is about, so there are, you've got a process manager, which you and I probably aren't. So I could have the best systems in the world, or Josh has the best systems in the world. He puts you in that seat, like you're gonna be drained by noon, because you just want to be out talking with people,
right,
selling stuff, like getting deals put together.
Exactly. But I want those systems in place so I can do more deals.
You gotta have the systems.
It's powerful.
You have to have the systems.
Yeah, and making sure that people do it. So what do you think? So you say that, like, if you could draw a picture of, like, this is the idea, or do you have one? Because I know every agent's a little bit different. But you said, as far as teams go, you have a team where you called it a truly functioning team, which is what I kind of have referenced. Like I've always said, I don't want a team where there's just a bunch of agents in a group calling themselves a team, but we need a team where everybody understands what they offer and their value to the team. Whether it's, like, I've got a listing manager, a closing manager, a director of operations and marketing, and then we've actually got other people in the background doing more marketing, and then we've got me, and we've got buyer's agents in play. Like, I'm trying to remember if I've named everybody. Yes, and then we've also got an agent whose job is also to be a showing assistant. But all of that being said, like, what is the picture that you would draw of the ideal team, or that you've had the most success with, or you've seen agents have the most success with? What are the roles in that team?
Yeah, something similar to that you have, and I don't know everything that the operations manager does, but
everything else, finish all my stuff. Right. Marketing, operations, systems, making sure the newsletter goes out. Yeah.
And I think it's all uniquely personal to the things that give you energy and that you're good at, right? So the more that you can free up your time to do that, and then you take that next person, the process manager, the administrative assistant, and they're going to have limitations too. Like, what are the things that they're good at and give them energy? And you kind of hire around what you need to the people who are operating there. But yeah, I would say that, like, at minimum, you need an administrative assistant, a transaction manager to see everything through. Client care coordinator is another one that is going to be doing the communication. And some of those jobs can overlap until you get to the point that they can't.
And what did you call it? A client care coordinator? That's kind of our director of operations. Yeah.
There you go.
I like that name too. You just name everything. I love it. Politician. Like, you just name a law, whatever sounds good, and then everybody will vote for it.
Right, there you go.
I'm being sarcastic, but I am being somewhat serious. But it also draws the picture and articulates for people so they can understand and categorize, because people think and remember in chunks of information. So when you say, we do this, here's how, what did you call it, the low offer strategy, or the low offer?
Yeah, low offer execution strategy.
Low offer execution strategy. Now they've got it. Now they can actually remember what you told them, because it wasn't information cluttered with all the other ongoing information, but when you name it, they can kind of, understand and, what is the word I'm looking for, kind of grasp the concept. Cool. Okay, so my final 3 questions. Number 1, what have you found is the most resourceful tool for agents to use in growing or delivering the best business?
Wow. The most.
And other than your cell phone, like, is there a CRM, or is it this entrepreneurial operation system, or, what's another one? Some people love Contactually. Some people love the collections with Compass. Some people, most people say a CRM.
I would say that top 20 list.
Really? I like it.
You gotta have a CRM, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I've seen agents that knock it out of the park with just their cell phone and reminders.
Me too.
And Excel or Contactually, you have to have a CRM, but the one you use is the best. People always say that. But I would say that that having and maintaining a
top 20,
two top 20 lists.
Okay, 2 top 20s.
Yeah, so one are a list of 20 people that you want to have a result from in the next 90 days.
Okay.
And the next one is more of like that that top 20 VIP list that you want to have results from them and on an ongoing basis. Those are going to be lenders, financial advisors, people that give you multiple referrals in a given year.
Mm-hmm.
And the top 20 lists are going to be current clients, and like I said, somebody you want to have some result from in the next 90 days.
Clients or somebody who's potentially got a referral for you, things like that, probably. Which that's also often within our ongoing list, but a 20 and 20. And how would you allocate your time to each of those 20? Is it a daily thing, a weekly thing? Especially the 90-day 20. It's probably a daily or a...
Well, yeah, in the 90-day 20, I mean, you're dealing with them on a weekly basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're going to be current sellers, and, so you have this person wants to buy and sell, or maybe it could be a team member. It could be hiring a new team. Maybe there's a buyer's agent that you want to hire and you've been going after. They can be on that list too. But and again, just magic happens when you write it down. It's kind of like writing down a goal.
Yeah. Well, it shifts your mind. It's a mindset thing. It goes back to a lot of the mindset and self-limiting things. It kind of gets you out of the self-limiting beliefs. You don't even hear yourself thinking because you might become numb to them, because you start just opening up to opportunities and people and things to do to grow your business and take action and move forward. Unless did you want to say something else about that?
I was going to say then systems are going to give you, free up your time and give you confidence. I mean, that's
as long as they're implemented systems.
Sure. Well, you know what? You have a system. I mean, if the system might be fly by the seat of your pants.
Right.
Or the system is a regimented checklist, right? I mean, you have it. And once you realize that you have a system, you might as well make it a good one.
Exactly. It gets back to, I'm talking about good to great a lot today, but good to great talks about it's easier to make things great than it is to just make things good. Because when they're good or they're okay or mediocre, kind of like we didn't even talk about in the background, defy mediocrity, or deliver excellent experience. Delivering excellent experience is much easier than mediocrity, because mediocrity always brings up problems and issues and flying by the seat of your pants, which is not very easy to do.
Right.
What is your one book that you would recommend? Which you named one earlier in the show, but what book would you recommend that we read? The one you named earlier, everybody, it was Gino Wickman, Traction, who developed the entrepreneurial operating system.
I would read that. I think that's a great book to get your business on track, to have a system an operating system for running your business. I think it's incredibly valuable. The other book, the one that I always come back to is Tom Peters, who he wrote Good to Great also. He has a book from the late 90s called The Pursuit of Wow. You can probably get it for pennies, but it's just this very short. It's just a bullet-pointed book. Any bullet points, just a number of thoughts that are timeless. And this thing was written really when the internet was in its infancy, and businesses weren't using it. But it's about mindset, design, people. I love it. I can pick that up and spend 10 minutes with it.
What was your biggest takeaway from The Pursuit of Wow?
That change is not difficult.
That's what we started with.
Easy, but maintaining change is hard. So if you decide you want to start working out, like that's easy. You just have to wake up the first day and go to the gym. And there's theories now about just stand on the treadmill until you take a step. But
I've never heard of that.
If you want to have an exercise routine in your life, it's not difficult. Just do it. But what's hard is when it's 15 degrees and raining out and it's dark, maintaining that change is what's difficult. So I think about that a lot, that everyone talks about how hard change is. Change is easy.
Yeah.
But sticking with the changes, that's what's hard. And that's where habits come into play, right? Like you asked the difference between really successful agents and agents that have been struggling. It's just habits.
Habit wraps it up right there. It really is. It's habit and the things that you do. I've mentioned this on the show before, but I wish I could remember I read this, but it talked about, and I don't even know if it was a business book or what, but it talked about people have, I wish the book was, it was cool because it wasn't the kind of book you would think this would come from, but it talks about how people have the smallest understanding of the effect of their actions over time. Like the small actions that you have over time, people repeatedly underestimate that versus everybody wants to go like on a crash diet or go change everything this week, but it's those small incremental changes and maintaining them over time that make the biggest effects on our lives and our business, which gets into that book, Compound Effect. But Pursuit of Wow by Tom Peters is your book. And then Traction. Yep. Which one's better? Which one's more impactful?
I would say for people watching, I would do Traction.
Traction?
Because it'll add context to your real estate business.
Awesome.
You get the Traction in place first and then read the other book and that'll inspire you.
There you go. So now you've got the systems to leverage Pursuing Wow.
Yeah.
So Isaac's laughing at me. Okay, so last question. If there's one thing you would hope that we take away from this interview, what would it be?
It's the concept of not how, but who. And that's a concept I got from Dan Sullivan, our strategic coach. And it's that alone will expand your mindset and leverage your time and your resources in ways that are absolutely unbelievable. So, think about that anytime you're stuck with something. That's what I'd take away.
Awesome. Thank you.